Alrighty, good morning or happy afternoon, seventh graders. Mrs. Oliver here with our reteaching of 1 and 2-step equations, but we are going to focus with having our rational coefficients with them. So remember, 1-step, there's only one operation. 2-step, there's also an addition and subtraction with a multiplication or division problem. Okay. So Friday you had to do an assignment that was reteaching. If you watched the video, I helped you start number 1 and 2. Check your other answers. Make sure if you haven't turned this in, you turn it in showing your work to get full credit. And of course, checking your answer. All right, and then if you watched the video, I helped you with 7, 8, and 12. I helped set up the equation, I believe. Okay. So today we are going to focus with rational coefficients and rational constants. Remember, the coefficient is the number that is being multiplied, and the constant is a number that is added or subtracted. So here's a nice little flow chart. Okay, remember, you always want to eliminate the constant term first. So that means if you see addition, you're going to subtract. If you see subtraction, you're going to add. Then the coefficient with whatever it equals, you are either going to divide if you see multiplication, and if you see a division or a fraction coefficient, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, that's taking a fraction and flipping it over. Okay, then of course, always check your solution. Okay, you substitute the variable with your solution, and if you get the same number equal to the other number, it's true and you're good. If you don't, it's false. Okay, so let's talk about multiplicative inverse. Two numbers with a product of 1, also known as reciprocals. If I take 2/3 times 3/2, I'm going to get a 1. Okay, so to eliminate a fractional coefficient, we must multiply by the reciprocal, the flip of the fraction. Okay, so of course, let's practice some of this. So looking at my first one here, it's a 1-step this time. Okay, all of these on this side are 1-step. So you're either going to get rid of a constant or a coefficient. So this first one is a coefficient because it is showing that it's being multiplied. Okay, so that means I have to multiply by the reciprocal because it is a fraction. So my job here is to take my negative 5/4 times my negative 4/5, and x equals 24. And remember, what number is over every whole number? A 1. And I'm multiplying both sides by the same thing. Okay, that makes this here cancel. That's where we get our 1, because we would have 20 over 20, which is 1. Okay, now here I could cross cancel, so I don't have to take 24 times 5. And because they are, I already know my answer is going to be a negative number because I have different signs. So that I don't forget my negative, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Right, so 4 goes into 4 one time, and 4 goes into 24 6 times. So that's where we would say 6 times my negative 5 is negative, oops, I changed my color, negative 30. Okay. That's just doing this section right here. Now I have to check my solution. Okay, replace x with my negative 30. So it's negative 4/5 times a negative 30 going to equal a positive 24. That's what we're trying to find out. Okay, well, 5 can go into 30 6 times. Keep the negative still with it. It hasn't disappeared yet. So then we have negative 4 times negative 6. That gives me a positive 24. And so we're good. Okay. All right, so that's one of our 1-steps. Here's another 1-step. Okay, that one, make sure you have common denominators with it. Okay, let's look at 5 though. 5 is quite interesting. You got a whole bunch of fractions going on. So let's look at that one. I know I need common denominators with those two. Okay, so when I rewrite, I'm going to have a coefficient of a mixed number. So when I rewrite this, I'm doing multiple things now. I'm going to do my Concord C. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So I have 4/3 x minus, now I'm going to multiply by 2. Okay, that will give me a 4/6. Now notice that gives me common denominators that I need. Okay, now I can look at my flow chart. First, get rid of the constant term. If there's addition, add. If there's subtraction, if there's addition, subtract. If there's subtraction, add. Well, I have subtraction, so I need to add my 4/6 to both sides. Now remember, on this side here, you must follow the integer rules. They're both positive, so I can just add them and bring down my next part of my equation. My 4/3 x now equals 4 and 5 make 9/6. I'm going to leave it improper right now because I have still that fraction coefficient. Okay. So now, to get rid of my 4/3, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 4 or 3/4. Okay. That makes those cancel. So now I can look, well, 4 can't go to 9, but 3 can go into 6 twice. So 9 times 1 is 9, 2 times 4 is 8. So we're saying x equals 9/8 or 1 1/8. So it's not improper. Of course, now I have to check my work. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything improper for right now, just so that I can make sure that we have everything the way we need it. So 4/3 times 9/8 minus my 4/6, is that going to equal my 5/6? Okay. Of course, we can do a little bit of canceling here. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 4 can go into 8 twice. So now my new equation or expression comes down to is 3/2 minus 4/6 equal to 5/6. Well, I gotta change this to really be 9/6 minus 4/6. Because remember, you cannot subtract unless they have common denominators. And I get 5/6 equals 5/6. I'll write big so that you guys can see. If I was doing this with pencil and paper, I would definitely be able to fit all this in my little space. Okay, so we got what we needed. Remember, our solution here, always write it with the variable equals your solution. That's how your teacher is going to find it in your mix of things. All right, I'll help you with setting up number 6, but then the rest of it you're going to have to do as your homework. A recipe for cookies calls for 3/4 cups of sugar. Okay, so remember, circle our numbers, underline important things. Calls for, that means that's how much you need. Amy has already put in 1 1/3. How many more does she need to put in? That more tells me that I'm going to add with my 1/3. What's our variable? C. So let's see equal cups needed. Oops. There we go. Then we got to come up with our equation. Well, I know she's already put the 1 1/3. And if I put it over off to the side a little bit, I got room to work with. Plus whatever, how many more she needs to put in. And that should equal my 3 1/4. Okay, now remember, you're going to have to get common denominators for your 1/3 and 1/4. And then, of course, check it. All right, so let's go over to the next page. Okay, when multiplying decimals, you do not need to line up the decimal points. That just gives you extra zeros, and we don't need them. When dividing decimals, you must move the decimal point in the divisor to the right to make it a whole number. Remember, your dividing decimal is the one outside the box. Okay. Then move the decimal point in the dividend, the one inside your division box. And the last place on the decimal is where it goes on top. Okay. So this is what you would use for doing problems like number 8 and our 2-step. Nope. That's it. Number 8. Okay, so that's important to use. Now, when you do number 7, let's look at that one. Okay, still using the same flowchart from the other page. We always get rid of our constant first. Okay, well, these all on top are 1 step. Okay, what's the opposite of a positive 2 3/4? Taking away our 2 3/4. Okay, but we do need to do something. Let me make my line a little bit smaller. First, we need to make sure we are lining up our decimals right. Okay, my 3/4 has an extra dollar space, so we have to put it so it's lined up correctly. Now I can actually subtract. Okay, these cancel. So now I'm going to bring down to get my solution. Well, I can't take 4 away from nothing, so that becomes a 9, and that's a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So right there is our solution. But don't forget, we have to check our work. Okay, so is 2 3/4 plus 4.66 equals 6.8. And I put my extra 0 there just because I should end up with zeros when I'm done. All right, so if I was to line up my decimals, my 6 goes with my 4. Well, that gives me a 0. And I have to bring up a 1. So once again, oh, you know what? I made a mistake. Looky there. I made my 8 larger than I should have. See, I'm checking my work and already finding that I had a mistake. All right, let's retry this one. That should be a 7. Okay, and 7.3 minus 3 is 4. There we go. I already checked my work. I'm like, wait, I'm going to get another crazy number. All right. And then 4 and 2 is 6, and we have a correct solution. Okay. All right, if you need to, pause this one. And then let's look at number 8. This one is multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplication? Hopefully in your head you said division. Now remember that negative is coming with your 2.5. And then this is where you're going to have to do some of your division off to the side. Now remember, our 2.5, we're really going to divide 100 by 25. Well, how many, if you have a quarter, how many quarters does it make dollar? 4. Okay. All right, so then m equals -4. Don't forget your negative. All right, so let's check it. Is a -2.5 times 4 -4, my bad, equal 10. Okay, this is where you could do your multiplication off to the side. 2.5 times 4. That makes 20. 8 to 9, 10. Oh, yes, it does. We get 10 equals 10. It's positive because we have 2 negatives. Okay, it's like taking away that bad money. All right, if you need to, pause this, get what you need written down. All right. So you have two-step equations. Same thing you're going to do. You're going to get rid of your constant first, multiply by the reciprocal. Okay. All right, let's look at 12. Jenna bought a $15 or 15-pound watermelon. It's huge watermelon. And a $3.50 bag of oranges. She spent in total $7.85. How much did the watermelon cost per pound? And per tells you you're multiplying. So what is our variable? Well, we could say there's multiple different variables you can use. There's not just one. So if you think of one differently, you can. So and say let C equal cost per pound of watermelon. Okay. Like I said, if you have a different one, if you want to use let W equal the watermelon cost per pound, that's another way you could go. So what's our equation going to be? Well, we know how big was the watermelon, 15 pounds, and that's per pound, so that means multiplication of our variable. She also bought for $3.50 worth of oranges. How much did she spend in total? $7.85. That is the equation. I don't know how many times I see people put C equals and they put an expression on the other side. That's not really an equation. That's almost like your solution, but written out in a long way. All right, so make sure you're going through and doing each of these out carefully. All right, like I said, these are a lot like the same way with how you're going to solve the ones on the first page. Get rid of the constant first, then the other. Okay. All right, you guys have a great day. Get all your work turned in. If you have questions, let your teacher know.